Welcome to the Fort Collins Fellows Podcast, from Colorado State University to New Belgium Brewery, and the hundreds of miles of hiking and biking trails. Fort Collins has earned its well-deserved reputation as one of the top places to live in the United States. Join the fellas as they uncover the stories, places, and people that make Fort Collins so extraordinary.
If you have been in and around Fort Collins, you've probably found yourself visiting Old Town Square and the downtown area. And there's a lot of different things that go into the development of it, the businesses, and people are pulling strings all over the place. And we have a very important person with us that has a lot to do with that. Throughout the last many years in Fort Collins, I've been lucky enough to know him for a good long while, and not only just a great person, but definitely somebody lucky. Fort Collins is lucky to have at the helm of the Downtown Development Authority, Mr. Matt Robenalt. Thank you for joining us today.
Pleasure.
Matt, great to have you.
Thanks for the invitation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, if you wouldn't mind jumping in and kind of talking to us a little bit about, on your question, I knew you're not from kind of the area necessarily, and so talk to us about how you came to Fort Collins and got involved with the Downtown Development Authority, and a little bit of your background.
Yeah, so I've been in Fort Collins. It'll be 25 years in November. So I've lived in Fort Collins that entire time, and I came to the Downtown Development Authority by way of getting acquainted with the previous director, Chip Steiner, back in the early 2000s when I was working in Loveland on some of their downtown revitalization efforts. And prior to that, I was in Knoxville, Tennessee, as running part of a partnership, running a brew pub and downtown restaurant in Knoxville. And prior to that, spent most of my career in redevelopment. Prior to Knoxville, I was in Michigan with an environmental engineering firm doing brownfield redevelopment.
So Fort Collins is lucky to have you.
It's been a great place. I think I mentioned that my father was in the Air Force, so I grew up all over the place as a kid, and I think Fort Collins is the 13th place I've lived. And it felt like home from the first day that my wife and I came out to visit to see if this was the place that we were going to settle down in.
You weren't going to stay in Northern Michigan, at Northern Michigan University, I saw you went to?
Yeah. The winters are long, and winters are long, and the jobs are sparse. So
I spent a little time in Rochester Hills. And beautiful up there, but man, I don't know if I could live there full time.
That was in the banana belt where you were at.
Yeah. So before we started recording, Matt, you kind of joked with Patrick, and I was like, man, I didn't even know Fort Collins had this Downtown Development Authority. I'm on the website right now. So for our listeners out there and viewers, can you just, give us a breakdown of what is the Fort Collins Downtown Development Authority? Obviously, downtown is the focus, but I'm really curious, how involved you guys are in projects, expansion, and just give our audience just a breakdown of what it is and what it's about.
Yeah, the Downtown Development Authority has actually been around since 1981. So
saw that,
40 plus years. So you and I were all probably elementary school or not even born yet.
I was one. I was one.
Okay. It was created as a result of some need in the community at that time. I think Fort Collins has always gone through periods of growth in its population, but not always a lot of consistent investment in the downtown area. And in the 1970s, it kind of hit rock bottom with regard to the condition of commercial properties and everything. And I'll give some descriptions of what that was like in a moment, but the Development Authority is a quasi-public agency. So there's a handful of organizations like ours that are authorized by state statute, and it requires kind of the consent of the local government, the city of Fort Collins, and approval by voters to create a Downtown Development Authority. And that was done in 1981 with the specific focus of building partnerships, public-private partnerships that focus on the cultural, the economic, and the social growth of the Central Business District. And why that was important at the time is in the late 1970s, there was a proposal to, I think what culminated in the decision to form the DDA was series of disinvestment in buildings, but then also a proposal by CDOT to extend U.S. Highway 287, turn it into a two-way couplet, which means that College Avenue was going to be the southbound lane of 287, and Remington Street was going to be the northbound lane. And as you know, Remington Street ends right at the entrance to what's now Old Town Square. And the proposal was that it was going to blow out all of the historic buildings between,
This was back in the 70s. They were talking about this in the 70s. That's crazy.
70s. Yeah. So that kind of rallied the community around the notion that they needed to save the historic Old Town area. And at the time, the state legislature had just imparted some tools on DDAs as organizations that became very interesting to the Fort Collins community. So there are a couple of folks in the community, people like Art March and others, led the effort to form a development authority. And so we've been imparting our tools on the downtown community for 40 years now. And what that looks like in the day to day, there's kind of three main areas that we focus on. The first is public-private partnerships in with respect to building redevelopment, historic building revitalization, and then infill development. So we use a tool called tax increment financing to assist the private sector with making improvements to their properties. That comes in the form of investments or reimbursements on their taxes for doing architectural improvements for a historic building. That might mean doing a historic sensitive rehabilitation. For a new construction infill project, it might mean elevating the quality of materials above that the city of Fort Collins would require in their land use code. And then also assisting with the added expense associated with intensifying uses on a property. Will help cover the expense of upgrading utilities to serve a property. So when it, for example, goes from a one-story building with a bunch of surface parking to a more intense use like a 4 or 5 story apartment building, it requires some cost to upgrade those utilities, and we'll help defray the cost of that expense in partnership with the private developer. So that's one facet of what we do. The other is we use that same tool, financing tool, tax increment, that's generated by all of this new development or these improvements that get made on private property. We take a portion of that revenue stream that comes to us, and we use it to design, to finance, to construct, and then operate and maintain enhanced public infrastructure. So public plazas, the enhanced alleyway system that we're known for, and then also used in partnership with the city of Fort Collins to help them advance similar types of projects in the downtown area. The River District's an example of that. And then lastly, the other area of focus that we have is more recently during the pandemic, we absorbed a function that was previously being carried out by a membership organization that had been in the downtown for quite a while, but they went financially insolvent during the pandemic. So we now support all of the business marketing and communications programs for the downtown businesses.
So Matt, real quick. So as an example out there, I see past projects up on your website, Ginger and Baker, the Union, these new, and as downtown grows, you guys were a part of those developments, those businesses coming in?
We assisted in financing and defraying some of the costs. There's usually higher expenses associated with developing properties in an older urban environment like downtown Fort Collins. And we're imparted with some special financing tools from state statute that allows us to partner with property owners that way. And over the years, we have done that on upwards of 125 or more different properties downtown. And that ranges from, it can be a very small, 20-foot wide historic storefront to the Woodward the Woodward headquarters, or their
right.
in the former Lincoln Greens golf course area.
I was just going to say the old golf course.
Yeah.
Used to play that as a kid.
What type of boundary are you guys working within to like the, because it's downtown development authority, but like it seems like you guys have a rather large kind of scope.
Yeah, so our footprint is 750 acres, and it comprises all of the historic commercial zoned areas of the central business district and all of the historic industrial zone areas of the central business district. So just for geographic reference, that basically our district spans, it's a few blocks wide at Laurel Avenue, where it touches the CSU campus, up College Avenue, and it gets a little wider as it gets into the historic Old Town area. We go up to Vine Drive at the north, and all the way out to the Walmart Home Depot area on
wow.
LeMay Avenue.
Wow. So so Vine and Mulberry to LeMay, almost.
Yes.
From College.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So that's a pretty decent footprint. And is it it's only commercial, no
Yes.
residential?
Yeah, we have all of the we don't get our boundary does not extend into any of the historic residential areas of Old Town. It's just strictly the commercial zoned areas. But within those zones, it's those zone districts. There are uses such as townhomes and condominium, multifamily, and that's mostly what we have seen in the downtown develop is multifamily, not single.
Matt, did you guys, there's that huge assisted living memory care unit building going up right there on North College. It's going up quick. Were you guys part of that as well?
We did. That was one of our more recent public-private partnership investments. And we contributed to help offset some of the costs of doing higher quality architectural finishes on the building and some of the streetscape improvements that are going to be done alongside the building.
That's if somebody came in here into Fort Collins, or downtown area, a lot of money, but just adores Old Town and the downtown area and wants to start a business or take over a business but raise it up, how do they go about communicating with you and kind of understanding what some of those benefits are, so they're not necessarily leaving money on the table and contributing to the preservation of downtown Fort Collins?
Yeah. So two ways. One is if they're buying a building and opening a business, then the door is open. It's to come and make a proposal to us for investing in their property with them to again upgrade the exterior and if they have to do utility improvements, those kinds of things we have a set of criteria or standards that we like to see met. All of our money and our investments are discretionary and approved by a board of directors. The other way, if a business is coming in and they're going to be a tenant in a building that's owned by someone else, either way, any business that locates in the Downtown Development Authority district receives a level of marketing support from the development authority. So that means you get listed on our downtownfortcollins.com website, where you can convey information about your business, your product type, hours of operation, and then also for very nominal amounts, you can participate in enhanced promotions. Depending on the type of business that you offer. If you're a restaurant, we have different promotions throughout the year, like Great Plates or Restaurant Week that you can participate in. If you're a retailer, we have Old Town Shopping Spree during the holidays. We have summer sales and multiple examples. We have recurring monthly promotions or activities like Art Walk and Foodie Walk. So it just depends on the type of business. We've got a slate of offerings that they can participate in it at no cost or very minimal cost. So that's the starting point. And then, Development Authority also acts as an advocacy voice for the businesses in the downtown. And we have close working relationship with the municipality. So we represent those interests to the city when they are proposing new legislation or ordinances that might impact the economic vibrancy of businesses.
Are you guys, it sounds like, we had Ann Hutchinson from the chamber on last year, and Patrick and I were just, honestly, I was blown away about how much the chamber is involved in bringing businesses in from, gosh, Hewlett Packard to Woodward Governor. What is the communication like with you guys and the chamber? Is there a lot of overlap there?
We're tight, man. We are
tight. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
It sounds like everything you're talking about feels like that you're going to be working with the chamber. So not only so the chamber kind of almost brings in these businesses or helps, bring in these businesses, then you guys step in and say, hey, welcome to downtown Fort Collins. We want to make sure we are your we're support for you to make, whether it's the overall building and giving you funding and everything like that. So it definitely seems like a parallel for sure.
We work very, very closely with Ann and the chamber and all of her staff. And in fact, just before this meeting, I sitting on the legislative affairs committee of the chamber, and they do a great job of providing a large overview of all of the different factors and things that influence the business community in Fort Collins. So we plug right in with that, bring that focus more intently on the downtown.
And this may be a stupid question, but are there DDAs in Greeley, in Loveland, in Longmont? Are these around all around the country?
In Colorado, there are, I think, approximately about 20 or 22 development authorities in the state.
Okay.
And Loveland, Greeley, Longmont, all those northern Colorado cities, Windsor as well has a downtown development authority.
It seems like you got to have one. I mean, it's such an asset to the community.
It's not unique specifically to Colorado, but there are other forms of enabling statutes in other states that provide communities with the ability to establish these special focus districts. But in Colorado, if a community is really intent on creating a revenue stream to do these public-private partnerships, and it's a pretty wide berth of functions that downtown development authorities can play in downtown. So, the state of Colorado's statute that enables these things, I think, is a really positive one, and we're fortunate in Colorado to have that.
Absolutely.
Talk to me a little bit. I think one of the, like you mentioned it a little earlier, but I think it is such a Fort Collins brand of the alleyways downtown. It's something.
The murals, amazing.
Well, yeah. I mean, people are taking engagement pictures down there. They're clean. They're well kept. The trash enclosures. I mean, and it's just, I know you guys have like future plans for them. I know you guys got a couple going on right now, kind of near off of Olive and between Mason and College, and then kind of behind Big City Burrito. It's just such a cool, unique thing that Fort Collins. I actually don't know how unique it is, but it is amazing that what Fort Collins does, and it transforms these alleys.
Yeah. So this whole concept of investing money to enhance alleyways and turn them from just the utilitarian functions of storing trash and recycling dumpsters and receiving backdoor deliveries and stuff like that. The whole concept for that was conceived back in the 1980s when the DDA was formed, but it took the development authority a good number of years, about 2 decades or more to be specific, to have enough revenue to be able to start making these significant investments on a downtown wide approach. And the whole concept is that we're taking these alleyways, which if you think about European cities, you've got narrow little roads and passageways in between buildings and everything. And apply that concept or that construct to downtown Fort Collins. Our alleyways serve that function, but unimproved, they're dirty, grimy, and not dark, and not the most pleasant places to be. So we go in and turn that whole thing on its head and make investments in putting in pedestrian lighting to make it safer for people to feel comfortable walking around at night. We put in paver surfaces and really make it these alleyways, and also install art. And you mentioned murals. We have a program in Fort Collins called Fort Collins Mural Project that follows usually behind us and works.
Yeah, so there was the Oak 140 project, that new affordable housing that just went in there.
Yep. And the alleyways are doing a couple of things that are unique to Fort Collins, and I think helping to position downtown Fort Collins to avoid some of the things you might be seeing in places like Boulder, where there's a dearth of retail vacancies on the Pearl Street Mall, for example. The whole model in this country for retail is changing, and smaller footprint retail spaces are more desirable by tenants that are leasing spaces. So our alleyways, our enhanced alleyways, basically create the opportunity for there to be two frontages on these old buildings in the downtown. So you have your College Avenue, Mountain Avenue, Main Street frontages, and then we enhance the alleys. And now it gives the building owners an opportunity to demise their buildings, divide them up in different ways to offer a frontage on one of these enhanced alleyways. And we've got, at any given time, we probably have between 15 to 20 businesses in the downtown that only have accesses off of the alleyways. They've invested in patios on alleyways and stuff. If they're restaurants, we've got retail stores that have secondary openings on these alleyways and treat them as a storefront. We have entertainment establishments like the Forge, which is a little craft beer.
Great spot.
Great spot. Salt Road Brewing, I should say, only have accesses off of these enhanced alleyways. So it's a wonderful thing. It gives the opportunity for small businesses to locate in the downtown, not incur the cost of a large scale footprint lease, but be connected by these beautiful enhanced alleyways that in the spring and summer, fall have beautiful flower plantings. And the more we do, our master plan calls for 17 square blocks of enhanced alleyways stretching from the north boundary of Old Town, Jefferson Street, all the way down to the CSU campus at Laurel on either side of College Avenue. And this year we're constructing, I think the 17 square blocks, we're constructing blocks number 10, 11, and 12. So we're close to fulfilling the vision and completing that master plan.
Matt, what's something that the residents of downtown Fort Collins and everybody looking out next couple of years? What gets you excited? What's on your plan? What I guess kind of a two-part question. What are you looking to do? What are your next projects? Where your expansion is? And then do you need like city council approval? Like because we've interviewed Mayor Jenny Arnott. We're going to have her on in a couple of weeks, but I'm just curious, does the city council come to you, Matt, and go, this alley needs to be worked on? We need to get how does that kind of process work? And what are you guys looking out towards the future that gets you excited?
So I'll start with the next projects that are getting us excited. We're going to continue to design, build, and operate more of these enhanced alleyways. We've got a few more to go. We design 1 year and build the next, and we'll keep doing that until we finish the plan. The other thing that the DDA recently did that we want to replicate in some form, we were partners with Housing Catalyst, our local housing authority, to develop a 79-unit affordable housing project that was marketed to downtown employees.
Yeah,
and, our board of directors really valued the process and the outcome, and we've begun setting aside money to perhaps do something similar in that respect. Wow. So that's going to be coming in the future. Our relationship or role with the city, we have the statute that we operate under connects us with the city of Fort Collins in various ways, and part of that is to focus on joint planning for the downtown. So we get involved with the city in developing sub-area plans for the downtown, like the river district and so forth. You got to understand that the DDA, we're not a regulatory agency. We don't have condemnation authority or anything like that. The only way that we can influence anything in the downtown is with our financial resources and being experts and staying in tune with methods and approaches to keeping urban core areas vibrant. So we bring the knowledge to the table and money to the table to get these
Sorry
things.
about that. No, I think that helps. Like, it helps me, and I think it helps our listeners just to kind of wrap our head around what the DDA is doing, and how it affects our community. Oh, I love that.
Question that I have for you is, so I know you guys are talking about great plates, summer shopping sprees, or summer street sales, tiny tots that you guys are. Is that still a thing? I think it is.
Few days away, Patrick.
Yeah. So
what is Tiny Tots?
Oh, bro, dude. Yeah. So Murph's a new.
Hey, I got a 9-month-old. I'm just learning this stuff.
It's the right age. You can. 9-month-old may not be able to chew some Halloween candy up, but you can certainly collect some for yourself. Tiny Tots is a long time tradition in the downtown. The downtown businesses all hand out Halloween candy to kids, and there's thousands of kids that come down.
Cutest thing ever.
That's right. Okay, I know what you're talking about now. Yeah. No, I can't wait. Next year we're going to be all over it.
Yeah. But the question that I had was, one of the things that, it evolves, and I think I kind of know the reasoning why that we kind of steered away from it, but was, New West Fest, that's no longer, a thing, Bohemian Nights, and kind of some parades that, some large scale type events that maybe just because of the security risks and things of that nature might not necessarily be in play anymore, but things that, citizens of Fort Collins can look forward to and make sure that they get involved with, the turning on of the lights November 3rd.
Love that.
There's so many cool different things that are going on downtown that I think the information is out there, but let's make it readily available.
Yeah. And you can get a lot of that information on downtownfortcollins.com. That's the community facing website that talks about all of the different promotions going on downtown for businesses, and there's an event calendar for the downtown. So Patrick, to kind of address some of the topics about events that used to happen downtown and events that are happening now and how that's evolved. Prior to the pandemic, when the downtown had a business association that was a nonprofit organization, one of their primary missions was to activate the downtown with some events and festivals, and they offered things like the St. Patrick's Day Parade and so forth. Over the years, they were a partner with Bohemian Foundation to do New West Fest, which was kind of a Founders Day celebration originally, and then integrated. When partnering with Bohemian, became a 2.5-day long music festival as well. And there are legitimate concerns for organizations that attempt to put on these large events these days. The insurance for those liability insurance for those events have become quite costly. And it's a result of things happening in cities where, a driver might inadvertently veer off into a crowd and cause some problem, unfortunate things like active shooter concerns, those kinds of things. So the volume of those and the nature in which those have to be managed today had just become cost prohibitive in a lot of ways. So I don't think that's necessary. There's still a lot of offerings in downtown Fort Collins. I think they've just been scaled a little bit more or right sized to fit within some of the plazas that are those plaza areas can be a bit more physically secured. We have Civic Center Park where we still have the Taste of Fort Collins that occurs. So it's just some of those large festivals that incorporate a lot of use of shutting down city streets and stuff like that we were all used to, but kind of became a challenge to manage that logistically and security wise.
Well, I think you guys have done a great job. I mean, I think downtown Fort Collins, when people come to Fort Collins, we have family and friends come here. They love it down there. And this is not even a question, more of a comment, but I have noticed, with the homelessness, I feel like it's you got to, everybody, you want to take care of everybody. I understand that, but I definitely feel like there's less of that in downtown Fort Collins. That's just my personal view. And I know they've kind of, the rescue mission has kind of moved a little bit, and the Murphy Center and a few of those things are a little bit further north. But I mean, people come to Fort Collins. From the murals to, the architecture, looking at, people should go to downtownfortcollins.com and you can see the projects you guys are working on and the building fronts that you have helped kind of like renovate is amazing. I just mentioned Ginger and Banker and Union, but there's a ton of others on there that I definitely encourage people to go check out for sure. Not really a question there. That's just me saying I love Fort Collins.
No, yeah. I mean, it's outreach Fort Collins. I know. I think you guys are on the board of outreach or like, and they've been a great kind of buffer zone building relationships. I know that's growing, and between the public and the police and DDA having a huge hand in that. So it is those small things, I guess, but that really equate to a huge impact overall. So, is that something that you guys see kind of there was an article in the Coloradoan today talking about crime in Colorado increasing, but in Fort Collins trending down.
I saw that.
So,
yeah.
Is that something that you guys are kind of seeing overall, just like with an intentionality towards this kind of transience and homelessness in Old Town, downtown?
Yeah, we hear positive comments from businesses in the downtown that the conditions that were contributing to a lot of those concerns about homelessness have waned in the last several years. And last year, or this past year, has been characterized as much more positive from a business perspective. And I think it's a multiple things that contribute to it. One of them is, I think we've always had a good partner with the city of Fort Collins, and understanding that in the downtown area, the physical paradigm of property ownership is different than any other place in the community, and the city owns the land right up to the front doorstep, the threshold of a lot of the downtown buildings. So there has to be an active role that the municipality plays in managing that public space. And part of that has been in the space of in the sphere of addressing issues of homelessness, has been their support and financial contributions to programs like Outreach Fort Collins, which was set up intentionally to do a couple of things, like connect people experiencing homelessness with the resources that are available, but then also serving as advocates for the business community to help deter some of the disruptive behavior that ultimately gets caused by folks that are experiencing homelessness. They're usually contributing factors of mental illness or addictions, drug or alcohol addictions involved in that. And that doesn't always equate to civil behavior occurring in public spaces. So the city's contribution to support outreach, and there's other community partners, including the Downtown Development Authority, that support that. So there's been a marked improvement over the years with regard to that issue.
Yeah. And one of the biggest ones that you guys, were a huge part of, was the square, and reconfiguring the square and moving the stage and having the splash pads. I mean, I worked downtown for, a decade, and it was like right before, even more than that. I've been down there since 2010. And when the stage was down there in the middle, you just have, teenagers, and then also homelessness and transients, that they would just hang out on that stage all day long. And you would see, it was like a parting of the Red Sea. People would walk, and then they would go around Old Town, avoiding that area. And then you guys had a massive, redevelopment project, with all of the utilities that you guys, all of the underground work, and then kind of a reconfiguring of the square. And it is just a consistently family-friendly area. Are you guys seeing, the use of that space being maximized to what your initial thoughts were when you guys kind of planned that?
Yeah, we are. We do see that, and it's accomplishing what we designed it to do. A lot of it, Patrick, was, there's been a lot that's been learned in central business districts across the country over the past several decades. And, the original Old Town Square urban design came at an early phase of when communities were learning how to begin revitalizing their downtowns, and that urban design thought process has evolved over time. And and it's some of it is intentional to address undesirable behaviors, but a lot of it today, and what we employed in the renovation of Old Town Square in 2015 was really about taking into account how the residents and visitors of Fort Collins desire to use public spaces, and how do we optimize as much of the space that we have available in Old Town Square to give them activities to do and experience throughout the multitude of seasons that we have. So, we kind of reorganized the whole layout of the house, so to speak, and created areas for, very loose fit areas so that we could have concerts, we could have areas to lay out skate rink in the winter and so forth, and removed a lot of things. Some of the thinking in the 80s urban design was hard fixture seating and stuff. And today we use all movable tables and chairs and everything. So people can create their own experiences by bringing those tables and chairs together for larger group gatherings. If they have big family down there, they can move them. If there's one person who just wants to sit and type away on their laptop and drink a cup of coffee or something like that privately, just to create a bunch of flexibility. And then, of course, anytime you can bring mothers and small children in a public space and give them an environment that they feel safe in, that is the ultimate testament to, I think, achieving a really vibrant space. Because if moms are comfortable bringing their small children down, then that just pretty much covers everybody else in society feeling comfortable in being in that space.
And they also control the budgets in a lot of families more and more, and they will spend money.
We recognize that, and
I learned that in the golf business.
we long ago realized that, and for many years now, we've been following the thought process that if you design downtowns for women from an urban design perspective, like I said, if you can make it something that women feel safe and comfortable in, and they like being down there, then the rest of their families will follow, and pretty much the rest of society follows. So
yeah. I just got one more question and we can wrap up, Patrick. But I was going to say, Matt, the Linden Street redevelopment with, bringing all those businesses, being able to have permanent seating out front, gorgeous, I guess, cobblestone road. Were you guys part of that?
We were. We were asked by the city in 2014, when we were actually designing the renovation of Old Town Square, to give them a concept design for creating a hybrid street, is what we refer to that as.
Okay.
Giving them a concept so that Old Town Square and the 100 block of Linden, or 200 block of Linden Street there, could function together for larger event activities. But also, the 200 block of Linden Street, where those improvements were made, also has an incredibly vibrant mixed use retail and entertainment set of tenants. But events and those kinds of close that block down for activity doesn't occur all that frequently. So we wanted to mix the amenities that make it function a little bit like Old Town Square for festivals and events, but then keep the functional aspects of it, on-street parking and traffic that could then easily be closed down when needed for those festivals and events.
Gotcha. Well done.
You had a background working in a brew pub. You came to the Napa Valley of the brewing capital of the world, microbrewing capital of the world, and you probably have all the options in the world and relationships with them. So if you name a couple, that's 100% okay. But we end each episode with, if you on a Friday afternoon, maybe not like today because we are on a Friday afternoon and I just got a freeze warning on my computer. So maybe not
fall is here.
maybe not necessarily patio weather, but next week it looks like it will be.
Yep.
Where are you spending a Friday afternoon, enjoying a pint?
So I'm probably going to be the downtown business will ridicule me for this, but I will say Prost Brewing used to be located in our downtown.
Oh, yeah.
And I am a big fan of German style beers. They more recently moved just south of the downtown,
right by my house. It's dangerous.
My house as well, which I concur. But I on a Friday afternoon this time of year, I'll be at the Prost patio drinking Fest beer.
Matt, I'm gonna look for you.
That's a safe answer too, because it's not in your downtown development, purview. So
just outside
neighborhood, and that that's the great thing about Fort Collins is we get these craft brewers now that have spread out not just the downtown but all over, and they're in their neighborhood.
Matt, we need you to be a part of the Midtown Fort Collins Authority and get that. I mean, I'm excited. I live on Prospect in College, like really close to there, and I know there's a lot of plans to kind of get Midtown going, but that's for another episode. But Matt, man, this was great. I learned a ton about this, and I don't think a lot of people realize the DDA and what they do and their involvement with our downtown and kind of how you bring it to life.
On the brink of extinction is what's crazy to hear. Like, I never knew that. On the brink of true extinction.
Dude, Patrick, you imagine if Remington went right through downtown?
Fort Collins wouldn't exist.
And
this would be a different world. This would be a tiny town that no one lives here, and no one.
I had no idea.
To give just a snapshot of what that was like, we had buildings that were boarded up, plywood on windows. We had upper floors of buildings that had been condemned because of fires or whatnot. And we actually had at one point in the 1970s, it's the building where the Right Life is located now.
Oh, yeah.
Furniture. That used to be a 3-story historic building, but it made more business sense for the building owner in the 1970s to lop off the top 2 floors.
No way.
And
no idea.
And not incur the property tax cost. You can imagine that today.
No.
But
I love Right Life. I used to go there and get my boards and my decks and everything when I was skateboarding. Oh, yeah. Good stuff, Matt. Well, thanks again. We really appreciate it. Yes. And I'm going to see you at Prost.
All right. I'll look for you.
Matt, thanks for joining us.
Good to see you.
Take care.
Nice to meet you, Murph.
Yeah, nice meeting you, Matt. That was great.